Welcome to Coffee with Spirit, the podcast where we delve into the mystical world of spirit babies, mediumship, and energy healing. Join me as I share stories and lessons from the spirit realm with a bit of New York realness to enlighten and inspire you on your spiritual journey. I'm your host, Nancy Weiss, psychic medium energy healer. Grab your cup for a quick chat, and I'll see you there. I'm your host, Nancy Weiss, and I'm so glad you're here today for a little bit of coffee and a little bit of talk about spirit. In episode 3, what's it like talking to dead people? I know that sounds kind of harsh when I say it, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So my story, and if you haven't heard my whole story before, I started talking to spirit. I wanted to share about this. I started talking to spirit or being aware of spirit at a very young age, which many children are. Many of us were as children, where we kind of felt things, knew things. Maybe we were talking to our grandmother, and our parents have said like, wow, she's like talking to a nanny and, she's passed. So there's many stories like that you may have heard and you may have experienced too and experienced along the way. A lot of times these abilities kind of wane because we get so caught up in real life. We get further away from our intuition and those type of things because we're worried about bills. We're going to school. We're raising children or whatever that is. And so we kind of can get kind of stuck or kind of like it kind of turns off unless you turn it back on. And that's what happened to me. I was really aware of spirit, like I said, my whole life. I saw that I really connected with children. I would connect with babies. I would connect with miscarried babies. I would connect with, I'm trying to think now, hold on. Yeah, miscarried babies, women that were pregnant, like people that I didn't even know. And I remember one of the first times that happened was when I met my dad's wife for the first time. We were headed, I got in the car. It was literally the first time I was meeting her. We were headed to her family's house for Thanksgiving. And in the car, I say to her, "Is your sister pregnant?" And there was really I had no filter at that age, right? At that age, there's you just don't have a filter. You don't know what's right and wrong. And she was like, "No." And I'm like, okay. And it just blurted out, right? So fast forward, we're at dinner. We have, 20 people at the Thanksgiving table. And I think there's 4 or 5 sisters. And the phone rings and the host gets up and she answers the phone, right? And she screams and then comes in and announces to everybody at the table, and I don't remember her name, but we'll just call her Teresa. She's like, "Oh my God, Teresa's pregnant." And it was their sister. And it was my dad's wife's sister who was pregnant. And I kind of looked at them and I was like, did you hear this? Did you hear what just happened? Because I was in shock. And I don't know if it was really acknowledged. But that was one of the really big first time that I was like, why, I'm just kind of psychically and connecting with this. And then to get further into actually the spirit baby realm, one of the first times that spirit really, really came through for me so strongly was going to a boyfriend's house for the first time to meet his family. And I'm walking up the stairs in this old home in Brooklyn, walking up to that second floor. And all of a sudden I feel this whoosh go through my chest and out the back of my body, that's really intense. That's really intense. And I don't feel like spirit's not always like that where you're feeling it like that. But I felt this whoosh go through me. And I went, oh my God, that's a little girl. Immediately knew this was a miscarried baby that his mom had, and she's here. She is here with us in this home. And of course, again, here I am, 17, no filter, don't realize you really shouldn't be saying stuff like that. And I meet her and we're talking a little bit. And then I ask her, "Did you have a miscarriage of a little girl?" because she's here and she's around you. And everyone kind of just was like, and just stopped and was like, oh my God, that's intention. She said, yes, I did. And I think that's where that 17 age for me is where it really started to come in super strong. I had always been practicing. I had always been connecting. Even as a child, as soon as I figured out I had psychic abilities, which all of us do, but I realized that like, this is something that I could hone. And I was reading books and constantly practicing ESP and all these little astral travel and all these little things with intuition, knowing who was on the phone, but not only knowing who was on the phone, but what the subject they were talking about was. And so I started getting deeper and deeper, and then had like a wane in my abilities throughout my 20s and 30s, and then had another spiritual awakening in my 30s, actually where I moved into a home where we had a ghost. I'm going to call it a ghost, a spirit. And that's when I started connecting again and then started getting deeper. And this story is going everywhere. Hold on. I need a sip of coffee. I hope you're having coffee too. This was something I always wanted. I always wanted a ghost in my house, like I've heard other people have. But I knew in my mind's eye, I could see him. I knew exactly what he looked like. He was an older gentleman in his late 50s, 60s. He wore a long jacket. He had a fedora type hat that they wore, like men wore, I guess, in the 50s and 60s. But I knew what he looked like. I could feel him. I knew when he was behind me. I knew when he was watching me. So that was pretty wild. And that kind of led into then moving further along in my story and connecting with spirit babies in my fertility sessions for clients that are working to get pregnant, and starting to connect with spirit babies, which technically there are people say like, there's no proof of it, which is true. Incoming spirits, you can kind of say there is no real proof, but moms know. And when I'm able to say like that, this is the baby's name, this is their gender, this is what they're telling me, and they confirm it, we know it's real, right? But having babies that have been miscarried, there is also evidence there that parents know about, that they would know about, that I'm able to connect with. But in this, and I'm trying to get into more of like the mediumship stuff when I'm talking to adults that are in spirit and what that is like. So for me, I can, and if you've ever heard of the clairs before, there's claircognizant, clairvoyant, clairsentience. There's a whole bunch of them. Some of them are stronger than others. And when I'm in a session, either a spirit baby session or a mediumship session, I will feel passed on loved ones on my left side. So I can feel them coming on the left side and see them on the left side, living or on the right, dead or on the left, spirit or on the left. And then usually I'll know that they're there, and then I will sense their gender. So I'll know if they're male or female. And then I can get a hierarchy, however you say it, of who they are. So if I picture like we're here on this level, and then a mom would be above, and then a grandmother would be higher. Or if it was younger, I would see like, oh, they're a brother, they're a younger brother or a child. And so I see it like that. And a lot of times they will also show me a portrait of themselves. And I always see things like a picture. So that is one of the things I'll see too. So it's kind of like this continual thing of like, okay, we start with the feeling and then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Then after that, I will sense usually their age. So I'll see that portrait of them. I can see kind of what they look like either now or in the past. And then we get a little bit deeper, how old they are. So I'll get how old they are. Then I get the name. A lot of the times, not all the time, I don't always get their name, but there's a lot of times where that name is spot on. Like if it's Steve, it's Steve. If it's Dolly, it's Dolly. Who the heck is Dolly? I have no idea why I said that. But maybe somebody's listening with Dolly that has a Dolly. So I'll get the name and then usually how they passed. So for me, I will feel that in my body. So I have that clairvoyancy. Well, I'll see pictures or I'll just hear it or just know it. And then I'll know how they passed. And that could be anything. That could, I could feel sometimes the physical aspect of it, of like, whew, I can't breathe. I feel the heaviness on my chest, so I know it's heart or lungs. One interesting one that happened recently was somebody passed from a fight, and I actually saw him. My body actually moved backwards, and if you're just listening only, like it literally grabbed me by the shoulder. He grabbed me by the shoulder and pulled me back. And that is probably what happened. The family member said that that's probably what happened to him in this altercation, which caused him to pass away. And I actually felt him being pulled, which was super intense because I've never actually had like my whole arm moving. And then some don't want to talk about how they passed. Whether it's embarrassing for them or it's something that they regret, like it could be a drug overdose. There's some that really are like, I don't want to talk about this. And so it's all different. And then I'll see pictures or I'll hear things or know things that I'm able to ask a client. And I remember one time in a session, they said, tell them, do you remember watching Howdy Doody together? On whatever it was, like ABC or NBC. And it was so specific of watching this Howdy Doody show, which is actually an old show, but that's some of the things that they will say. And then going back to spirit baby session, I remember one time this spirit baby, and I'm trying to remember if she was pregnant at this time, which I don't remember right now, but this spirit baby said, Mom, remember when you were talking to me? We're talking to Dad about me around the fire last weekend. And I told her this and she was like, oh my God, me and my husband were at my boss's home for the weekend and we were outside sitting around a fire pit and talking about the baby. And we were both just like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I have to tell you, no matter how long I've been doing this, no matter how much time I've been doing this, I'm still always blown away by the things that come through. I'm blown away still that our loved ones, yes, are on the other. And saying the other side is so hard sometimes. It's like beyond the veil, the other realm, the other side. But in reality, they really are just here with us. And that's a big part of why I do what I do, is to remind people, whether it's their spirit babies or their mom that's in spirit, that it is just right here next to us. And honestly, we are spirit ourselves, right? We just happen to be in a physical body at this time. So to connect with that spirit, to connect with our loved ones on the other side or our baby on the other side is really not that strange. It's really not that, I want to say not that difficult, but it's just about tuning in, right? Tuning into this frequency, and then paying attention to the signs. And so I want you too to pay attention to the signs. It's not just like I'm so special and I'm only able to do this. There are many people that can do this. You can do this. You can connect. And that may just be like connecting with signs, right? Or getting a message from your loved one, and knowing that they are here with us. They are watching us, not in a creepy way, but they are with us. They know what's going on in our lives. And we see this time and time again, just like with that spirit baby saying, hey, remember when I knew you were talking about me around the fire. Or our loved ones saying like, remember when we did this, or, knowing what we did today, or celebrating an anniversary, or knowing these things. So yeah, that's what it's like for me talking with spirit, talking to spirit. It's always evolving as well. Gifts change or abilities change. and how you hear things, how you see things. And I'm always practicing and working on that. And I think that's one of the most important things too, to know. It's like, I don't know everything. I'm constantly working. I'm constantly a student in doing this so that I can bring the best to my clients. So that's Coffee with Spirit today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you've connected with your loved ones and some of the signs that you've seen. And I will see you next week. All right. Bye.